Okay, so this is the VBON. It's Friday the 13th of September. I'm Chris Wheeler. He's Manus Sheridan, and today we're going to present something about modern marketing channels and finding what works for your business. So online marketing is very much like spinning plates. You don't really know which one to keep up in the air. If you're running your business, you've got lots of different constraints depending on the size of the business. One clearly is money. Where do you put your money? What is most effective for you? Do you do things yourself, or do you outsource it to other people and partners, whether they're freelancers or agencies or even family and friends? What is that costing you? My experience of 30-something years of doing this is that I learned very early on in business that I needed to give myself a virtual rate per hour. And even if I didn't stick to that virtual rate per hour, I then measured that against what somebody else could do for me and whether that made sense commercially. And I've used that rule of thumb all the way through my business life. And I think that works reasonably well. Obviously, none of us have got time. Time is critical for everybody. So what you need to do is trying to figure out, again, is it worth your time trying to figure out what to do, or actually is it better to give it to somebody else and let them use their time and you pay for that? Trust is a critical factor in terms of, who do I trust? What channels do I trust? What makes sense for me? Do I trust my own gut instinct sometime, or actually do I need data to back it up? Where do I go with that? And ultimately, if you've got an operation and you've got people inside your business, then it's a question of, what incentives do I need to give them? How do I need to train them? What support do they need? Can I deliver that? Or actually, does somebody else need to come in and do it for me? So there are all these different things, and you're sat in the middle, like this guy here, frustrated, thinking, what do I do? And honestly, I've been in this position myself many, many times. It's like, do I use an outsource agency? Do I use a freelancer, or do I just go it alone? And these are the questions that most businesses are asking themselves. So choosing the right channel for your audience, well, there are multiple factors. Clearly, the channels you can see there are wide and varied. They range from organic channels such as SEO, email marketing, and social media through to paid channels like PPC. And different channels give you different opportunities to grow. Different channels appeal to different markets. And you can see slap bang in the middle there, we've got B2C and B2B. Now, the situation is, there has always been, certainly since the advent of online marketing in 1993, there has always been this thing of a divorce between B2B and B2C. And you guys will know anecdotally that you have either a B2C or a B2B business. But ultimately, you're selling to a person. And it doesn't matter, that person isn't actually a pigeonhole B2B, B2C. They still want to be engaged. They still want to be excited. They still want creativity. They still want an experience from whatever you deliver them, whether it be an app, a website, or in fact, even offline marketing. It's all about them and not about you. And what you've got to try and get into is channels that are best at really personalizing things for me as the viewer. Yeah, so there are different ways of doing that, different effectiveness in these channels, but you really should be looking at a combination of experience, gut feeling, and ultimately, normally you would use data-driven logic. Yeah, so you want data to back up your supposition, and then typically you'll use experiments to reinvent and change the way you put something out to market. So, for example, the 100 Club wine project, it might go out as you've just seen, Vinny's just shown you, but in 3 months' time, he might have data to say, actually, we need something else on the big banner at the top, and you refresh it, and then you test that, and you take the data and you analyze, and that's the same throughout all the channels. So that's the way to choose your mix.
Chris, we might jump into the first interactive element then of
Yep.
the presentation today, guys. So as Chris mentioned there, there's many different types of business, B2B, B2C. Are you a service provider, or are you selling physical products? So could we ask you all to just drop into the chat? Who are you? What is your business? Are you B2B, B2C, product, service? If you wouldn't mind answering those in the chat, and we get a bit of a feel as to who's in the room. Thank you.
Good. So the first channel we're going to look at is search engine optimization, SEO. SEO has been around as long as internet marketing has been around. It's organic, which means in theory you don't pay for it. But of course, going back to the original slide, of course you pay for it. Whether you do it yourself or whether somebody does it for you, there is a cost implication. But if you use the analogy of a house, effectively when you've got your website, you've built the foundations. And SEO is all about putting the walls up, getting the roof on, and make it nice and secure. So it's a foundational process. You can have what's called low-hanging fruit. You can get some quick wins from it. It's not necessarily a slow burner. But the ultimate of it is that you need to make sure that you understand exactly what your competitor is doing for the chosen key phrase that you want to be found in the search engine for. Now, ultimately, Google has changed its mind over and over again. They have what's called an algorithm, which is a mathematical calculation in theory. I'm not sure I believe everything they tell us, but they do change things from time to time. They tell you it's on the basis of quality and they want to improve the search for the viewer, but they fly in the face of their own quality standards a lot of the time. A key example is if you put into Google Analytics sign-on, you actually won't get the Google Analytics sign-on as the first search result, which you would expect that would be the case for Google, but it isn't. So you take things with a pinch of salt, and again, your experience tells you that if you follow certain guidelines and you get your structure right, you're writing rich content that isn't AI generated, you're going to get much better engagement rates. And if you use your metrics correctly and your data correctly, then you'll be able to understand what that's actually doing for your business. In e-commerce, we can actually create funnels whereby you can see what your organic traffic brought to your website as a revenue model. So you can see what actually the number of searches are for red wine. We're on the red wine subject this morning. So you can say how many people are searching for red wine in Ireland, and then you can actually create a pathway to understand what that delivered to you monetarily. And at the end of the day, if you're in e-commerce, it's all about the money. If you're in a sales or service business, it's obviously all about driving leads and generating leads. And what we're seeing in the last few months is a big leaning towards online digital PR. And online digital PR plays into the idea that hundreds and hundreds of links into your website, in whatever page of your website, isn't actually beneficial as much as it would be if you were featured on one article on CNN or Sky or RTE or a government website or something really authoritative where you can cross-link between them and yourself. And it's a lot more expensive to do. And you typically only get maybe 10 links at a time. But ultimately, it's something Google loves because it's really high quality content, and you actually want people to engage. So what you tend to see is where people will build links for you, potentially from the Far East and Asia, and they're specifically for SEO, they're spammy, they look awful, and they really reduce your brand, and you very rarely see traffic from it anyway. It rarely does anything. So you'll see a fluctuation on your analytics that is up and down all the time. Yeah.
Thanks.
You're welcome. So moving on, we're going to get into Manus's core subject at Blue Digital, which is pay-per-click. So I'm going to hand this one over to Manus.
Yep, thanks, Chris. So pay-per-click is a consideration of how to get traffic to your site, and can be done via a number of different channels. But again, the immediacy of traffic with pay-per-click advertising is one of its strongest advantages. And that budget, of course, can be controlled. You dictate how much you want to spend on your business campaigns, and then the channels are bound to come in at that price. Paid advertising can be highly effective for reaching the right people. So to go back to the earlier points that Chris had mentioned in relation to analytics, who is it that's visiting your site? You know, are these the core customers that you're trying to target? If there's any mismatch between your organic visitors and your desired target audience, you can make those changes and deliver those ads to those people. So it makes the pay-per-click channel a very effective form of delivering relevant traffic to your website quickly.
And I think the important thing to note is that Google, in the last few years that we've been jointly running PPC campaigns, is that they've tried to make you believe that it's a simple process whereby you can set up an account within minutes and basically set it to run and let it run. And the problem with that is it's very automated. It uses AI as its baseline tech. And essentially what's been allowed to happen is, by leaving it running and letting it do its own thing, the costs run away with themselves. So whenever we're doing a PPC campaign, we never let Google take control of that campaign ever. Yeah, we'll take their advice in certain areas, maybe to do with the quality score of the ad or something like that. But ultimately, we want to be masters or mistresses of our own destiny. So we don't want Google running the show. Yeah, and
Yeah, and just to echo in there, Chris, as well. So, you know, there's terminology that I'm trying, you know, we're trying not to lose anybody with here,
yeah.
but conversion is a big one in the Google sphere. So, you know, what does a win look like for people with their online businesses? Now, if that's maybe a form fill for somebody expressing interest in a service, or in relation to e-commerce actually buying a physical product, you know, there's two sort of end conversions. And we need to or anybody that's running any online advertising needs to show whatever channel they're advertising on what that conversion looks like and the path to the conversion to the advertising channel. When to stick with the example of Google, when they've come up with their smart campaigns, which are very good, they make advertising very open to people. But what Google conveniently forgets to say is you need to show it this path to conversion even with a smart campaign. And inevitably what Google will do in smart campaigns is they put in their own conversions, like a page view. So it'll categorize a win for your campaign as somebody coming in and looking at a page of your website, which like really is bullshit, and that's a waste of money. So for people that are running their own advertising campaigns, please check out your conversions. It's very, very important to make sure your conversions are right. So it's reporting and the algorithms are targeting the right things.
Excellent. Thank you, Manus.
Yeah, because I find with Google, you have to keep kind of boosting it every now and again, you know, what you're putting up for your SEO and the keywords and everything, because it keeps changing. You just have to keep an eye on it the whole time, like every couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's really important, Denise. You know, and Google loves fresh content. You know, it's nearly like it's trying to become more like a social media channel than anything else. But the freshness of that content means that people are going to engage with it. It's new. It's something it can push. So there, and this is what we're going back to the spinning plates analogy. You know, there's an element of everything that we're chatting about here in everybody's marketing. So you have your own website, your own online environment. You got to keep the content fresh in that. You've got to do a certain amount on whatever channels you choose on the social media side. If you decide to go down the paid advertising route to push a bit of traffic, you got to keep that ad traffic, or sorry, that ad content fresh as well, you know. So
Yeah,
a
I try
lot
to
of
put
these
up
plates beginning to spin.
blogs now every now and again, but it's happening faster and faster. I need to almost keep up with it, because I go in to the incognito tab and check my own business and keywords and all that now and again, and I find I could be further down than I think after a couple of weeks.
But again,
Whereas when I When I
Sorry.
do it fresh, after about 48 hours, maybe 2 or 3 days, I'm back up at the top again. But then you slip back down. So you've got to keep putting up blogs, changing phrases, changing keywords, just to make sure you're coming back up on the top when someone does a search for your services and different.
Yeah.
I'm almost being a bit more detailed, but I'm just afraid that I'll come to a point where I can't put in any more detail. You know.
Yeah, the thing they got to do with SEO, with PPC and everything, as I said at the beginning, is you've got to make sure that you're constantly on top of your competition. Yeah, if you don't understand what your competitors are doing, you're not going to compete in SEO until you're number one, page one for anything. Then you're effectively a follower, and you're following what everybody else does in the top 3-5 in PPC. People will change depending on the competitive nature of the key phrase that you're competing against. People will be changing that as well. And, you know, when they change, you need to reevaluate, reinvent. And Google makes it harder and harder, because in the early days of PPC, when we started, it was like there was a big blue box. I don't know whether you remember in Google, and it said like sponsored link, and you could see clearly what was going on. And now it's much more obscure. So
Yeah, because I did a marketing session with somebody, and they were saying the sponsored ones, they're kind of overlooked by a lot of people because they know they're paid for.
yeah, yeah.
That used to be the case, Denise. But anyone that's saying that now is a little off the curve.
Yeah, because I'm finding there's more and more sponsored coming up on if I do a search for certain things.
Yeah.
I mean, one time there was only 2 or 3 at the top. Now there's 7 or 8 coming down along the list.
Yeah, and again, the Google makes it very difficult to distinguish between what's paid and what's organic.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, sorry, we might move on, Chris. So email marketing.
Yeah, so email marketing is known throughout the industry to being the highest converter of all the channels. So the rule of thumb globally right now is that if you spend €1 on email marketing, you should expect to get 40 back. Yeah, that's the general rule. And so what email marketing is broken down into different sections. So if you are selling e-commerce online, you'll use email marketing for things like making people special, personalizing, giving them special offers, making them part of your community and club. Yeah, so they keep coming back. And even if they don't keep coming back, what you're trying to do is make it viral by getting them to share. And maybe you're going to give them offers so that they can actually share your website or your app across their own audience, and that becomes a very viral process. Email marketing is a very creative medium. Obviously, you can use some great designs alongside some great text. The rule of thumb is you keep it short and sweet. You stick to the point. Dear sir and dear madam to an email correspondent doesn't cut it at all. It needs to be to the person's name. It needs to obviously reach out to their pain points, and ultimately you can, as Alex said the other day, one of the biggest failings of a lot of businesses, I've been guilty of it as well over the years, is actually not looking at the audience that you've had in the past or customers that have lapsed, and how can you re-engage them. And email marketing is a good way to re-engage them and refresh them about your products or your services. And of course, we can track all the information on email marketing in terms of when did they open it, how long did they take to open it. And a general rule of thumb for email marketing is if you've got a creative piece that you send to my inbox, then if you've got an image with that creative piece, make sure that the landing experience, whether it's on a website or an app, is exactly the same image. Yeah, and there's a psychological benefit to that of thinking that, you know, I saw that on the email and this is what I've exactly landed on. And you find the engagement rate is a lot higher that way.
Vinny, sorry, do you have a question there?
Yeah, actually, I was thinking about this yesterday. Obviously, in being in my position, I'm thinking about how to market, you know. And
Yeah.
I was talking to my accountant yesterday, and he told me a few weeks ago that all of his clients will be getting an email. But then yesterday he said something to me, which kind of struck me. He said, "Vin, I've got 4,000 deluded followers on Twitter, which they're all going to see this. Is that better or worse? If email is better, should I just ask them to email everybody, or should I ask them to tweet it?"
if they're opted in email people, then obviously you're going to be in a much more direct space in terms of emailing those 400. If you're tweeting it, why not?
4,000. Yeah.
4,000, sorry. Then email it as long as you've got their permission. There's no issue with that. Obviously, you can actually take the link of the email and put it in Twitter, and then you've got a kind of a viral effect again there. And what a lot of people struggle with is this idea of joined up thinking. So they might go to a freelancer to do one thing, an agency to do another. They might do something themselves. And Nick will tell you the idea that, you know, you really want to join your brand up with colors, with the logos, with the messages, all across all channels. Yeah, and that's how you build your brand. Yeah.
Right.
Am I right, Nick? He's on
Guys,
mute.
guys, there's a bit of a misnomer out there. I just want to clarify it, okay?
Yeah.
You don't need consent of a client to email them.
No.
Okay. If they are a customer or a client, you don't need their consent to email them. So you don't need opt-in. That's very important.
That's a great point.
They have the option to opt out if they wish to do it, but don't feel constrained in relation to sending emails to your business clients, okay?
Absolutely.
On that note, Carl, if we were to email people who we didn't know as a subscription, asking them to subscribe for some reason,
yeah,
that's okay to do that if we leave unsubscribe
correct
now.
Correct.
That's legally fine, right?
Yes, yeah, it is.
Okay. Cheers,
there's a lot of misnomers out there, misunderstanding around GDPR, but that's fine, Vincent, provided you give them the opportunity to opt out.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you for that, Carl. That's really useful information.
Vinny, just to jump in as well, and Ray, I mean, absolutely no offense by this to you or accountants in general, but taking marketing advice from accountants is generally a dangerous thing.
Gotcha. Well, I would trust Raymond in fairness.
I don't think because Ray is cute.
Good to know, Ray.
Well, I tell you, I outsource my marketing, but pretty much it'd be the same thing, manager, right? When I hear someone doing their own income tax return, I just the shutters come down, and the earmuffs go on, and I say, no, I'm not interested in what you were doing. Just, show me your version of it. Show me what you've done, and I'll fix it for you.
Yeah.
In fairness, it was a gift. It's not marketing. It's just something that he.
No, Vinny, I'm taking.
Can I just come in something there? It was interesting because we did outsource all our marketing, and we were getting a lot of new followers on various social media, whether it was Instagram, whether it was LinkedIn, what have you. Last Friday, we took a view and we did up gift boxes, and we sent out a video, and we went out. We did, the girls here in the office did brilliantly. They broke up into teams, and we analysed all of those who were following us on Instagram location-wise, Meath, Dublin, what have you, and Westmeath. And we went out and said, look, let's bring them all a gift as a thank you for following us on social media. Today I have a meeting with one of those people that we visited. I had our first interactions asking for business through the Instagram, and I've got another meeting next week, and we've signed up business since then, so a combination. Like most people, I wouldn't know what works in marketing. That's why I outsource it. But we just felt that going out to press the flesh also on people who've been following us was a good idea, particularly locally. And we are getting some really hot leads off that, which is I'm really impressed by.
Awesome. Raymond, I love your example there, because it's I suppose it's very easy for people like Chris and I to get quite blinkered and talk digital all the while, and that's where as part of this presentation we're trying to encompass a lot of different areas and silos of digital marketing. But at the same time, like in personal or traditional marketing as well, we're never saying it's never an all or nothing approach.
Yeah,
it should never be only concentrate on digital marketing. We're automatically assuming that businesses are aware that you still have to do real world stuff, real world marketing. Well, put your face out there, get out and do the politician element of shake hands and kiss babies.
Particularly for the larger clients, because you'll always get an element of business that'll come through your website. Whether you were purposely going out after them, you'll always get an element of business that just falls your way. But when you have to go after those larger, more lucrative clients, there's an element where you have to put yourself out there in a professional way online, but you've also got to go and visit the places where they are and meet them face to face and court them nearly and win over the business. Particularly in our industry, it could take 3 to 6 months to turn over a significant client.
But it's important that if you have certain information, then direct marketing, direct mail marketing works really well
Yes.
because you can make it compelling, but not only that, you can make it personal.
Yeah.
And with, you know, the technology myself and Jimmy have available to us, it's actually easy to do a couple of hundred of these things and make each, you know, letter and pack personalized. So it's,
and don't you find now that when you get something through your door, it's actually almost a reverse innovation? Yeah, because people are so used to getting their emails and their inboxes in LinkedIn, God knows what. It's like, oh, I've got something nice through the post, and if it's personalized, great.
Yeah, absolutely. But if it's, you know, if you can show some type of connection, understanding, empathy with the target, you know, it's so much easier to ring them later and, you know,
exactly.
Yeah, and this cuts across the digital channels as well, in terms of, you know, the more personalized you are, the more engaged the person who's receiving the information feels. Yeah, if it's a mass sell, they're just one of a number, and they feel like that.
Yeah, if you can try and make them feel special, and that's why when I don't know if that'll come through, but this was the maybe no, it was a lovely little video with boxes, goodies in it, and things like that. And it might be a little bit cheesy, some people might think, but the response we got from going out was phenomenal online. And like I say, the leads that we're getting in is just a little bit of a personal touch as well.
Yeah, I do a lot of networking now, and I do that just to meet people so they know who I am and get you know, it's a bit more personalized, and
they remember you.
Yeah, I find it works, but you need to keep it topped up. You
Okay,
can't just do it once and walk away. Do you know what I mean? You need to revisit it.
Moving on to social media marketing, there are so many platforms. There is so little time. We've now got something like 475 social media platforms across.
Wow.
Yeah, so you know the ones that are out there that are well known: the Facebooks, the TikToks, the Snapchats, the Pinterests, etc., etc. So using social media is really very personal in terms of, for example, if you're a B2B business, it's pretty well known there's 900 million people on LinkedIn. The average day-to-day usage of LinkedIn is supposed to be between 3 and 5% of those 900 million. So that's still a huge audience. And LinkedIn is segmented into your own personal profile, and then you can segment it into a company page, for example. So the quick explanation of that is that with a personal page, the idea is that you're becoming a thought leader in your subject, and you're sharing information about yourself. And certainly since COVID times, that's got more like Facebook every minute of every day. And I've been on LinkedIn 20 years. I got my first invitation from Reid Hoffman, who was the founder, in 2006, next month. And it was an invited business network. You know, you had to be invited to get on it, or you had to know somebody to get on it. Obviously, Microsoft took it over, everything changed. But what's important is, again, it's about what you want to get out of the channel, and to keep that simple, there are paid models. For example, there is a lead generation model where you can target specific industries, specific people, specific company sizes, etc., using a product called Sales Navigator. And you can do the same with their lead generation forms. And with the lead generation forms, much like pay-per-click, you'll be assigned a cost to click. You can create a monthly budget for that. You create new audiences as a result of that, but it never touches your website. So you create a video or an image, and they never go to your website. So even if you don't necessarily need to have a website to make that work for you. And it's a very, very effective B2B, if you believe in B2B, B2C, reaching people that way. If you want to grow your brand and you're happy to take that slower, then you'll find that organic is the way to go. But organic is very expensive, whether you do it or whether somebody else does it. Estimates around the web, from certainly what we know from global social media management, you can pay anything between 30 euro and 70 euro an hour. And typically, you're not going to get many followers. And as Microsoft changes its algorithm, its maths, it gets harder and harder to get people to like your posts. And liking your posts is great, but actually, if it's a company page, you want to grow your following, and ultimately you want to bring them to your business. So,
Chris, I'm just going to jump in, sorry, because I think we're going to be a little tight on time.
Yeah.
But if people can remember, like I'm sure everyone will know of a website that they visited where there is a plethora of social links on the site, and you're thinking, Jesus, how can this business manage a Facebook page, an Instagram page, a Twitter page, LinkedIn, you know, so on and so forth. And if you actually look into the content, they can't. It's nonsense. It's either repeated content, not designed for one particular demographic or anything like that. So it's nearly it can nearly damage your brand more to do that.
Exactly.
Think about who is it, like who are you trying to reach online and why? Yeah. Who is this sort of buyer persona that you're looking to reach, and then where do they live? Yeah. So if you're targeting if you're targeting a largely female demographic and you're not on Pinterest, like you got to start asking yourself some questions. I think the last figure of monthly active users was 86% of monthly active users on Pinterest are female. So if you want to hit a female demographic, you should be using Pinterest. You know, same thing. Maybe, you know, like B2C, you should probably be managing some form of a Facebook business page. As Chris mentioned, LinkedIn is more B2B. Again, like TikTok, one of the fastest demographics on TikTok is again females between the ages of 30 to 40. So if that's a demographic that is of interest to your business and you're trying to reach them, possibly you should be operating in maybe some way, shape, or form on TikTok.
Exactly. So what I've done, because we don't have time, I want to go to the breakout rooms. In the chat, you'll see the link to the full presentation, and in there you'll see the tips and the tricks and the hints that we've given you. Feel free to push back on Manus or I on any of those. We're happy to take questions online, offline, whatever. I'll put my email address in the chat. I'm sure Manus can do the same. And yeah, we're happy to give you some free advice, some guidance, or whatever else it is that you require. So thank you very much for your time, and we hope you enjoyed the presentation.
Thanks, lads. Very good.